Hello, I'm Mal, and welcome to my overview of Dead State Reanimated. Dead State is a role-playing game with tactical turn-based combat, set in a zombie apocalypse and created by the development team at Double Bear. The game was kickstarted in June of 2012 and released its first full version in December of 2014. I'm recording this in May of 2015, and you might be asking, well, why now? Well, I thought it'd be a good time to show folks this title if they had never been exposed to it, because it recently received the Reanimated update, sort of a 2.0 version of the game. It includes a rather lengthy list of improvements, of which I will include a link to the changelog in the description of this video, but it includes things like rebalance to the combat system, new content, smarter AI pathing, new player options for starting a new game such as player character infection or hardcore mode to make the game even more difficult, and then a lot of stability and bug fixes, complaints that, are addressed from the initial launch of the game. So, as you might expect when you start a new role-playing game, you choose how difficult you want to make it, your character's appearance, the stats, and the starting skills. Now, it's fairly straightforward with regards to the character creation system, but the skills are deeper than they might initially appear. For skills, once you get to level 3, you get a perk choice, and this can make your character very different than another character that might seemingly be the same as yours, given the same choices of skills based on your perk choices. So I'll give you an example. If I increase my survival skill to level 3, I'm presented with a choice of additional vision range on the area map, or increased resource recovery. Now, I chose to go with additional vision range, but you could just as easily make an argument for the other perk, and I like this system, again, because it allows you to have two characters with similar stats and skills that could be very, very different based solely on these perk choices alone. It gives them more uniqueness, more flavor, so I like that quite a bit. The UI is one of the elements, however, that people have been critical of, but for the most part, I have felt home with it, and somewhat of a throwback vibe to it, but players not accustomed with old school RPGs might not be able to pick it up very quickly. In the top hand part of the interface, you'll find your decibel meter. How much sound you generate is very important in Dead State. You make a lot of noise, and that's going to bring more zombies to you, and obviously that's something you're going to want to avoid, especially in the early parts of the game when you maybe don't have the equipment to deal with them so well in combat. Other elements include access to various tabs of information such as your character screen, inventory management, shelter overview, and so on. Now, once you've completed the character creation, there's a brief intro where you're introduced to the world via a news report of some type, regarding an outbreak causing mass hysteria. Now, you're on a flight at the time, and the way it's presented to you is that like a passenger turns into a zombie and just wreaks havoc on the plane crashes, and then you begin this sort of mini tutorial. The game does a fair job of explaining the basics through the tutorial tips, but more in-depth reading and documentation of the game will be required by most gamers, particularly those that aren't familiar with this style of RPG. So don't blame the game, if you're not willing to read up, things might be a little confusing to you at first. Initially, you'll be taught how to navigate, and you'll face a very basic encounter where you'll get a feeling for combat. Players that have played games like XCOM, Wasteland 2, or Fallout probably find themselves at home with it. The combat system has a fair amount of depth to it, even though it seems very simple at the start. I'll give an example. In melee combat, you got a baseball bat. If you right click, you're going to get several different options. Instead of just a basic attack, you might try to stagger the creature or knock it back or what have you. So this adds some flavor to it, and adds some complexity and makes it more interesting. After this initial encounter, you're met by some sheriff deputies by a local municipality. You pass out and you're sort of taken or transitioned to the start of the actual game, which is a school serving as a base of operations for a group of survivors. Now, you join this group and sort of eventually become its leader. You start to get to know the other survivors, and you learn about the first objective, which is to gather enough supplies and tools to conduct a crucial repair at the school. Selecting who will go with you on this first run and is sort of the beginning of choices that will shape the success or failure of the group. I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong answer here, but it'll depend a lot on your playstyle. Who you want to take out with you on these runs when you go to do various things will, not only will it be based on what you've chosen for yourself in terms of skills, but just, again, playstyle, what are you comfortable with? Do you go more combat heavy, or do you take people with you that have different types of skills that maybe would help you maintain, a level of being quiet and sort of just creep around in places and, get items out of stores or homes or what have you without encountering the zombies? It's certainly possible to do that if you've got the right skills and you're careful. Now, making sure that the survivors' needs are met make up the core of the game. You're constantly looking for more food and luxury items, and luxury items are not necessarily what you think. It could be something as simple as toilet paper or a candy bar. Think about this. This is the zombie apocalypse. We're not talking about a brand new BMW here, people. We're talking about things like toilet paper and candy bars, fuel for the generator, weapons, special items. And all of these are required to maintain both the physical and psychological well-being, as well as maintaining the morale, which is a major component of the game. And now, interactions with these non-player characters, I'll be honest, they can get a little stale, and in truth, don't seem to hold a tremendous amount of depth. If you think you're going to get a Mass Effect level of character interaction, yeah, that's not going to happen. But this game's not really relying on that either. It does create enough of a bond by placing value on what others can do. Their skills will make sure that you'll be able to survive, so it in turn improves your chances, so human nature's at work here. You want them to survive, if for no other reason, because their skills will help you to. Now, you're going to go out on daily runs, like I mentioned before, to gather supplies. I highly recommend that you travel during the day and gather what you can. You return to the shelter. Before you set out each day, you check the assignment board near the cafeteria. Now, the assignment board is point and click, and it's actually pretty intuitive. You simply select someone and tell them to, repair something or build something. Or it could be as simple as clean up around the school. And there's actually time frames on when you should do these things. Like, for instance, you got to clean up the school at the beginning of the day to get a morale improvement. If things are, and it kind of makes sense too, right? If things are unkempt or whatever, or not clean, then that would kind of bum you out. So assigning somebody to do that, especially if they don't have any other skills that are of use at that given time, is a good idea. After you've done everything that you want to do for a given day, you head upstairs to your room and you go to sleep. You'll close out the day and you'll get an end of the day recap. It'll tell you the detail of how the morale of the group is holding up, what kind of supplies you have on hand, and what you've used up in the last 24 hours. So, what are my thoughts on Dead State? Well, I think for players that are not used to RPGs or turn-based combat, they're initially going to struggle. The game doesn't hold your hand, so experienced players of the genre will feel comfortable. The Reanimator release of Dead State has improved the game that I was already enjoying. I can safely recommend this game to fans of RPGs and to tactical turn-based games. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna cut back a bit on some of my other series, and I'm actually gonna start a new Let's Play of Dead State because I'm really enjoying it. So I'm not going to get into, gameplay in terms of combat and whatnot, because I'm going to cover that in my Let's Play. I'll cover the character creation in depth. The purpose of this video was to just give you an overview of Dead State and whether or not I recommend it. And again, if you are a fan of role-playing games or tactical turn-based combat games, then I can safely recommend this game to you. If you're not willing to do a little bit of learning, and you have no experience with that genre, then this might not be the one for you. In any case, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and you join me for the next episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm Mal, and I will see you later.